It's Nolan.
Now, before we get started, make sure y'all hitting that like button. Make sure y'all sharing it on your respective platforms. Let somebody know what we're doing today. Now, let's get into the show.
Yeah. Had to break away, I'm back home. I know the people miss a nigga, feel that shit in my bones, but fuck it. Life is a finite experience. Fine dining, refusing to take this time too serious. I was hustling delirious, niggas acting nefarious. Sweet them out, clean them out the inner circle. My journals is leaking out. I tell my truth on records, do it myself. It ain't no co-defendants. Killing all these niggas, no mask, cause bitch I'm photogenic. These my Chaucerisms, sharp as a prism. My bars like a prison, honor and wisdom, all that I'm drenched in. Phone calls talking about business, I'm optimistic, even though I gave my ass to kiss. I don't fuck with the system, I'm my own man. Run a program without the clock, confident. Anything your faves dropping, I could top. Now they label me a hater like I'm supposed to be hurt. I wear my heart up on my sleeve like it's sewn in my shirt. You swear you're hot, but your flow is just burnt. They say my head getting big, I just told her it's girth, focused on work. If I thought about that criticism, I'd be on a different mission. I'm trying to find the definition of my premonitions. A crash course like collision, dog, I went the distance. My hood full of chicken spots, niggas keep the biscuits. They spilling tea up on a nigga, let it be hibiscus. That bullshit, I stay above it like a flying nimbus. Orion's image, I'm shining with higher limits. Competition coming my way, you know I am winning like the slang in London. I am in it, risk cryogenic, that's frozen. Chosen by hoes that want my chiro in them. Role model, I'm rolling with models, y'all was printing. Load hollows for these fuck niggas y'all been sending. I pray to God I never had to hit that throttle with them. I want my cash multiplying, this is not addition.
What's going on, beautiful people? It's the kid J Nolan here. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Industry, your number one source for music, entertainment, commentary, and breakdowns. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Now, in this video, we're going to be talking about Jay-Z and Tony Buzbee, right? We all know that Jay-Z has a defamation and extortion lawsuit against Tony Buzbee. We all know the drama that Jay-Z went through with Tony Buzbee for the last about 5-6 months, in which he was falsely accused of SA on a minor, and they claimed that he had done such act in tandem with Diddy. It's been exposed that neither one of them had any connection to this situation. There was no truth to it. It was voluntarily dismissed with prejudice by Tony Buzbee and his legal counsel because, of course, in the state of New York, in the Southern District of New York, right, he needed some people that were going to take up his case. And that's also another thing, right? Jay-Z was trying to get sanctions put on to Tony Buzbee about all of these different filings that he was doing against himself and Diddy in the state of New York on a federal level, or trying to go on a federal level in the Southern District, right? And they're like, yo, this dude is not even licensed to practice law in the Southern District of New York, right? He's licensed to practice in the Eastern District of New York, but that's not where he was filing his lawsuits and complaints. So Jay-Z and his legal team were like, yo, how are y'all allowing this dude to keep filing these false lawsuits, put a false lawsuit out on me, try to assassinate my character, try to run me through the mud, try to devalue my entire career and everything that I've worked for in the last 30, 40 years. All off of a random accusation from a lawyer who just has a vendetta and wants to get money? What the fuck is that? Right? So, with that being stated, Tony Buzbee did get denied access to practice law in the Southern District of New York. They just came out and said, sir, denied, right? And not only is Tony Buzbee denied in the Southern District of New York, but even if he pursues clearance for pro hoc vice, which means that he would get a one-time permission to practice for a case, he would still have to submit proof of the letter of denial that he received from the state of New York, showing them the bad behavior in which he did legally to say he was previously denied. And with any future New York licensed attorneys that he happens to partner with in any litigation, he will also have to submit that paper to the courts to show them his bad behavior legally. So now this is something that's going to follow him moving forward. I think it still should be worse. I think he still should be disbarred for mishandling justice and making a mockery of the court system. But that's my opinion, right? I think his practice should be shut down because he's been getting over on people off these little technicalities and off these little bullshit ass lawsuits for years. But that's just how I see it, right? So let's get back to Jay-Z's defamation and extortion claims against Buzbee, right? He initially filed this in December, I believe, of last year, and he's continuing to pursue it. Now, as it stands currently, it looks like the judge agrees and disagrees on some key claims in Jay-Z's defamation extortion suit. So part of it may be allowed to move forward while other parts of Jay-Z's pursuit may be getting flogged. Unfortunately, I think it all should be assessed. But I guess in this situation, you got to take your wins with the losses and just hone in on your wins, right? So if y'all can remember, I told y'all Jay-Z came out and voiced that he's lost in the upwards of $20 million in deals in just a few months that he was in that battle with Tony Buzbee and Miss Jane Doe, Miss Unidentified Jane Doe, who gets to go back to her life like this shit never happened. Lost $20 million in deals. His family has been publicly ridiculed. He's been publicly ridiculed. He felt like Tony Buzbee strategically released the lawsuit on the very day of Blue Ivy's Lion King premiere to make him have to choose whether or not to be embarrassed in public while supporting his child or sitting at home in fear, right? And not wanting to be judged or be dejected by his peers, in which he did show up with Beyonce to the premiere. And there were still people out there saying, oh my God, why is he out there at a Disney premiere with those allegations on him? Because them bitches was lies. That's why he was out there. This shit was lies. But nonetheless, with such serious allegations on you, it only makes sense that some of your corporate partnerships would be like, hey, you know, we love you, but we got to take a step back. We got to evaluate this thing. We can still do business in the future, but right now we got to put this relationship on pause. We need to see what the results of this will be. Because we can't just pour money into your pocket and your companies if this is the type of stuff you're doing. And to be honest, I think even with small money, shit, nigga, if I'm finna pay you $50 and some shit like that come around, I might hold on to my 50. You know what I mean? Just being real shit. Because what happens if it gets exposed? Oh, you're putting money into this person's pocket. They're going to say that you're supporting an abuser and a pedo. So yeah, it gets tricky out here. All right. All those things on the table. The judge in California has issued a statement legally. And they're going to have, they had like a hearing, and it will be moved forward for evaluation. But there are some key points, once again, that are basically being fine-tooth combed to make sure that they're valid. So here I'm on Miss Megan Cunniff's website, Legal Affairs and Trials with Megan Cunniff, because she's basically paraphrased everything into very simple language. There's a 34-page filing from the judge, but it's all of that legal mumbo jumbo. She's kind of taken everything and condensed it into very digestible language. So here's what she had to say about the situation. It says the future of Jay-Z's lawsuit against plaintiff's attorney Tony Buzbee hinges mostly on a like, which is a social media like, by the way. The judge in California said this week he'll probably dismiss an extortion claim against Buzbee over the now dismissed lawsuit that accused Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs of raping a 13-year-old girl in 2000. He also expects to dismiss 3 statements under the defamation claim, but another one will move forward and 2 others will survive because of Buzbee's decision to like a post on the social media website X, right? So basically, the judge is not necessarily following along with the extortion piece, but they do see grounds to check further for defamation. Okay? So they say here, it's hard to say that when somebody says Doe is Carter and your client likes it, it's not reasonable to infer that your client has just affirmed their right. And once you get there, we're off to the races. Los Angeles County Superior Court Judge Mark H. Epstein said, referring to Jay-Z's legal name, Sean Carter. Now remember, when the lawsuit first came out, it was Diddy and John Doe. And a lot of people were speculating online that the John Doe was Jay-Z. And Tony Buzbee, before actually revealing that John Doe was Jay-Z, he liked a post on social media that said John Doe is Jay-Z, right? Or Carter. So he already had showed his hand via likes, and we see likes actually becoming a problem in court lately, right? Because not only is this brought up in this Tony Buzbee situation, but the validity of a like and what it does and how it promotes things is also being evaluated in the Megan Thee Stallion versus Milagro case. So it looks like people need to take this seriously and be very careful about what it is that you're publicly co-signing online in terms of your likes and probably even your comments. Right? So they say Judge Epstein had not finalized his order as of Thursday afternoon, and this is Epstein, no relation to, that other guy. And he said he may change his mind and keep the extortion claim if Carter's lawyers present evidence showing Buzbee sought money from Carter with no plan to sue and without the consent of his clients. So Jay-Z and his legal team are going to have to submit those demand letters and show proof that they were literally being threatened and that Buzbee was demanding money specifically in those demand letters in order for it to be identified as actual extortion, right? So they say that is extortion, perhaps, but I want to see that silver bullet before I allow it to be fired, the judge said during a 2-hour hearing on Tuesday in Santa Monica, because otherwise the legislature was pretty clear that they don't have a problem with settlement letters, and that if there's stuff, if there's stuff in the settlement letter that turns out to be false, your remedy is a malicious prosecution suit at the end of the day. Okay. Epstein's comments are his first substantive remarks about the merits of Carter's claims against Buzbee, who recently dismissed his lawsuit against Carter in the federal Southern District of New York. The lawsuit was on behalf of an Alabama woman who said Carter and Combs essayed her at an after party for the MTV Video Music Awards on September 7, 2000. The extortion claim concerns 2 demand letters Buzbee sent Carter's lawyers before he sued, one on behalf of the woman and another on behalf of a man whom Buzbee accused Carter of essaying in 2005 when he was 16, which we also know got to be some bullshit. Carter called the accusations false and ridiculous in every aspect in a recent court declaration. Buzbee has not sued Carter on behalf of the man, and he recently dismissed his lawsuit on behalf of the woman with prejudice, which means the claims can't be pursued again. Judge Epstein cautioned on Tuesday that a dismissal with prejudice isn't definitive proof that the allegations against Carter were false, but it checks the first box for a malicious prosecution claim against Buzbee, meaning that there is grounds to at least look into it. Buzbee's lawyer, Samuel Moniz of Shepard, Mullen, Richter, blah, blah, said he doesn't believe there's any evidence that Buzbee acted without his client's knowledge, nor is there evidence he acted maliciously. That's a load of horse shit. They say counsel can quibble the adequacy of that investigation, but there was an investigation, and there's no evidence that Mr. Buzbee closed his eyes to any contrary evidence tending to disprove this claim. And that's Buzbee's lawyer speaking, who I don't take anything from Buzbee's side as legitimate. I don't give a fuck. If you shake Buzbee's hand, if you go to Carl's Jr. with motherfucking Tony Buzbee, I don't trust you. Okay? They say Epstein offered to delay the hearing after Carter's lawyer, Robert Schwartz, a partner at Quinn Emanuel, said an investigator spoke with someone who said Buzbee sent 2 demand letters to Carter without the knowledge of 2 clients identified as Jane and John Doe. So they're claiming that these demand letters were sent before Buzbee's clients, these fake ass folks, were even notified that this was going to happen. They didn't know. Schwartz, however, says he doesn't believe the investigator can publicly name his source. So Epstein proceeded with oral argument. Afterward, the judge said the findings in his 34-page tentative order may or may not change in his final order, so it's not final. And he urged Schwartz and his co-counsel to submit new evidence sooner than later if they're going to do so. He also said that they can say the evidence they believe they would find if allowed to seek discovery from Buzbee. Epstein's comments leave a narrow path forward for Carter's extortion claims, but the defamation claim is safe regarding 3 of 6 statements identified in the lawsuit after the judge said they linked Carter to the SA and allegations made by Jane Doe. So here is what the judge says. An average listener would believe that Buzbee's statements truthfully implicated Carter as a offender, according to the tentative order, which was distributed in the courtroom on Tuesday. So these are the surviving statements that will move forward. It may not be big names at first, and these are statements made by Tony Buzbee, by the way. It may not be big names at first, but we have a long list of names. Buzbee said this during an interview with Piers Morgan that aired on October 8th. Buzbee called his client in the lawsuit against Carter as a survivor, which Carter's defamation claim alleges, reasonably understood to refer to Mr. Carter as the perpetrator of the alleged assault, right? So in his interview, he calls this lady a survivor of SA, and Jay-Z and his team are saying, y'all are implying that this really happened. Therefore, you're putting this heinous crime on Jay-Z's jacket without verification. We call that defamation. Plus, it wasn't proven in court. Then they have Buzbee was paraphrased by TMZ on December 10th as saying he's not ruling out filing grape charges against Mr. Carter with New York authorities, and what happens next up is up to my client. It's her case, and what she decides to do, you will find out in due course. TMZ also reported Jay-Z's accuser might take the music mogul's advice and file a criminal complaint against him after slapping him with a civil suit alleging SA, according to her attorney, Tony Buzbee. Now remember, when the lawsuit came out with his name on it, Jay-Z took to social media and he said, why take it civil? Y'all should open up a criminal case against me. And Tony Buzbee said, well, shit, maybe we will, nigga. So the judge is allowing those statements to remain for evaluation as it pertains to defamation, right? However, the statements that the judge plans to dismiss, and these are quotes again, Buzbee said on Stephen A. Smith's show on October 2nd, fuck Stephen A. Smith for even allowing that motherfucker to talk. I want to make sure I capture a wide net and capture everybody involved. And that's what I'm trying to do. And part of the purpose of the press conference was to encourage people that witnessed some of these events to come forward, and that's happening now. I want to make sure that anyone that facilitated this, egged it on, participated, benefited from, profited from, they're involved too, because that's really what needs to happen here. It happens in other cases like that. You want to make sure that you include everyone, especially those that enabled and were complicit. He also said, obviously a lot of this is hard to corroborate. So the judge is basically striking that from the record. Buzbee said on Chris Hansen's show October 3rd that facilitators committed misconduct and claimed they should be prosecuted and put underneath the jail. He also said, I expect the Combs indictment and the charges in the indictment will grow. I expect other people will be implicated and blase, right? And I believe these are being stricken because they can't necessarily say, that he was directly referring to Jay-Z. Again, another quote on the Sean Atwood podcast. There are going to be some people named in these cases that are going to raise some eyebrows. If you were a bank and you were somehow facilitating this by allowing, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash to be withdrawn to be used for various things, or you were some sort of pharmacy that ordered large volumes of particular drugs were being purchased, and maybe you were a hotel or club, this type of activity was taking place, you're going to be named. In his tentative order, Judge Epstein said the inferences in the dismissed statements are far more tenuous than the inferences in the statements he won't dismiss. Unlike Buzbee's statement to Morgan in the dismissed statements, there are no hints about the specific celebrities in Diddy's orbit that would implicate or even refer to Carter. Okay? Buzbee indicates generally that famous people may be implicated, but there are no further specifics that would lead any person to believe Buzbee was particularly discussing Carter. According to the tentative order, his comments implicate celebrities and non-celebrities equally. Buzbee's comments to TMZ are different because they specifically identify Carter, and Epstein said Buzbee's liking of a post that identified Carter as the John Doe suing him for extortion is enough for people to realize his comments to Morgan were about him. Okay? So this is a slip up on Tony Buzbee's behalf that may actually bite him in the ass. I'm all for it. This is another quote from the judge. Buzbee's statements in a public interview to a well-known personality concerned potential high-profile assailants that had a history with Diddy and were involved in the highly publicized SA scandal. The like corroborated this circumstantial evidence, the judge wrote. She then links Jay-Z's declaration, which we read already, where Jay-Z talked about his mental anguish and all of those different things that he suffered. The $20 million he lost, all of those things, the reputational harm that he took, that Roc Nation took. Here is another piece. They say social media comments online responding to Mr. Buzbee's public statements about me and accusations. So this is where people online basically started saying that Jay-Z needed to be in jail. He needs to be locked up. He's about to go down. All of you, Roc Nation, are going down. And we saw a lot of people that were leaning into these sorts of thoughts, even in just my own comments on YouTube. Right? So he was subject to a lot of criticism that was unjust. He even stated that he felt like there was a gun put to his head to either pay up or be publicly humiliated, right? So we've already talked about a lot of this stuff as far as Jay-Z's grief. So I don't want to just revisit a bunch of stuff that we've already spoken about. I have a whole video talking about Jay-Z's grief. This is the actual letter from the courts in Southern District of New York where they've denied him, right? I talked about that earlier in the video. Here's the actual text. The Committee on Grievances has considered Anthony G. Buzbee's petition for admission to the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York, which was filed on January 29th. You scandalous as hell. How you gonna file for that shit in January when you have lawsuits looming since October? Per the committee's review of the dockets, Mr. Buzbee has appeared in cases in this court without seeking admission. Therefore, the petition is denied. In the event Mr. Buzbee moves for pro hoc vice or regular admission in this court in the future, he must attach a copy of this order to his motion or petition. Signed, Catherine Polk Fire. But I'm going to call her Fire for putting that down. Epstein's pending order comes as Buzbee faces increased scrutiny in the federal court district where he sued Carter. Okay? So, it's a lot coming down the pipeline here But at least we know Jay-Z's lawsuit is moving forward. The judge is allowing it to be evaluated further. The extortion claim doesn't seem to have as strong of a hold, but defamation. But whatever it is, I hope Jay-Z gets a great award out of it in terms of money, in terms of gag order, in terms of hopefully being able to place sanctions on his practice, hopefully getting this motherfucker out the paint. Not to mention Diddy and his team, as much as I don't support Diddy, they're on his ass too, because he's been wrongfully targeted by Tony Buzbee as well. I don't co-sign any of the shit that man got going on. I've said it multiple times. But even as a person that's going down and that has been revealed as a fuck nigga, an abuser, a possible trafficker, I don't think it's okay to use real stories or pieces of real stories and then attach it with some fake shit just because now the public is against him, so we'll believe anything that comes out on him. I don't like that type of shit. You dogpiling with falsehood. I can't get with that. So y'all know my opinion of the situation. I don't rock with Tony Buzbee in any way, form, or fashion, and I hope everything in his world gets explored by Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to wish harm on nobody, but I hope that whatever's due to that man comes exactly as it should. So big shout out to Miss Megan Cuniff. We don't always see eye to eye with her. I don't like how she tried to place a bet with 50 Cent about the fate of ASAP Rocky going to jail. You know, you don't take bets on people's freedom. That's one thing you don't do. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't do that for anybody. Whatever happens to somebody, if they're gonna go to prison, they're gonna go. You know, if I believe it that they will, I believe that they will. But to take a bet, especially for an amount of money you don't got, even if it's just in jest, I didn't like that. But for the most part, she's done pretty good work in her field of investigative journalism and covering trials. So salute to her for paraphrasing that and making it as simple as possible, because sometimes these court papers are a little bit complicated. They do have language and verbiage that I'm not so accustomed to. I am a simpleton, not a lawyer or attorney or a paralegal. But let me know what y'all think of all this down below in the comments. And of course, I will stay abreast of any advancements that are made in this case as Jay-Z pursues this against Tony Buzbee. But I'll catch y'all on the next one, all right? Much love and respect, y'all. Peace.
King of my city and cul-de-sac. Coming out swinging like soldier rag. Leading my people like quarterback. Boy, I study this shit, I'm an almanac. Had to get up and grind. Knowledge is booming, I'm here to apply. Came with the chip and the dip, it just single the mind. We finna do more than survive. I need my check. Spinning the block for the gouda. We hitting the jeweler to flood out the net. We don't do beef on computers, I'm straight out the sewer. We come when you rest. Niggas be looking perplexed, so keeping my foot on their neck. No map, I trust my gut for the quest. With drama, I'm fully abreast. I was ready for years and they doubted me. All of a sudden they tell me they proud of me. I've been dropping these haters like calories. Cross some out, I came back with some boundaries. Stand for my honor, but too raw, no corner. Packing the stick with a drummer. Wanna catch my bad, won't fumble. I done came too far to be humble.